Hey everybody, I'm Steve Moore.
And I'm Mark Castleman.
We know the pain and heartbreak of porn and sex addiction.
And we know the triumph of breaking completely free.
Every day, we help our clients find hope and healing.
Join us in the fight to take back your life, your marriage, and be stronger than ever.
This is the PBSC Squared podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the PBSE podcast. This is episode 300.
Holy crap.
We tried to find party hats and New Year's Eve party horns around our houses. We couldn't find any.
Totally forgot to bring them, unfortunately, or buy them beforehand because we would have done that. Some of you we know tune in on YouTube, but the most of you listen to this in podcast format. So
yeah, we would have had some horns and New Year's Eve whistles and stuff. But anyway. Episode 300. It's pretty amazing. Woo.
Let's see if can we woo, whatever those things are.
But and for those of you who have been with us like this entire journey, we just want to tell you how amazing you are. And man, if you've hung in with us this long through 300 episodes, I guess probably apologies.
Apologies or t-shirts or both. Like I survived 300 PBSE podcasts.
Oh my gosh.
No, we really do love and appreciate you. Thank you for, as always, guys, leaning into the heart. There are lots of places you could be right now, but you're taking time out of your busy schedule to tune into this because you want to see something better in your life, and we really, really honor that. So
yeah, you're all why we do this.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you to each one of you. This, I guess, this submission was, I don't know, appropriate for episode 300.
Sure.
It was raw. It was real. It came in from a betrayed, injured partner. And she really gave us just the nitty gritty of what she's going through. We're not going to read it word for word. It would be enormously triggering for partners and, addicts in recovery, but we are going to definitely, I'll try to summarize it. We're not going to pull any punches with it.
And there are going to be some examples that will be triggering. So just
this will be triggering. So just get ready. So here's what she says. I know you probably get lots of questions. Yeah, we do. I've been following your podcast for years. One of those people that's hung in with us. And she says it's a godsend. And we appreciate her saying that.
Yes, we do.
Perhaps this is a subject I overlooked that you've already addressed. My situation is different, and I'm trying to work things out with my ex-husband, who had an affair. Sounded like an affair that kept repeating itself. She said he kept going back with her. We then rekindled things about a year ago. So this is one of those where they've come back together to try to reconcile, apparently. During that time, he took a break from recovery work. He still has a good deal of recovery work to do that he committed to do. And he's saying that he did quit during the year we've been trying to reconcile due to finances. And then she says, I do not, she has it in all caps, do not feel safe enough to re-engage sexually yet. Although we do have physical touch, holding, kissing, flirting, and that sort of thing. He had some childhood traumas that we both know have been a factor in his acting out. However, recently he made a comment that he has dealt with the majority of that. Now, here's the big issue so that was all background. Here's the big issue she's writing into us about. Here's the main issue I'm writing to you about. And this is where I'm going to paraphrase. These are behaviors that he is exhibiting toward her on a regular, sounds like every day, multiple times a day basis. He gawks at her when she's getting dressed. He comes up to makes all sorts of sexual gestures, sexual mimicking.
Yes.
With regard to his body and her body. I'm not going to get into the details.
Even to the point of like actually trying to undress her at times that aren't really appropriate.
Yeah, trying to undress her, simulating sex.
Yeah.
He grabs various parts of her body, like openly, just does it. And not just just a flirting touch, but we're talking some really significant groping.
And the submission, I think, does touch on this, but to be clear, everyone, it's in a context where she has made it clear on more than one occasion, many times, that she's not in a place to be sexual yet.
No, she's been very clear about that. It's not like she's, putting forth secret signals or coming on to him or anything like that, right? She feels it's so blatant. She feels like she's being examined, right?
Yeah.
And she says that he has noticed that she tenses up, but instead of having compassion, he basically looks at her and basically says, "What's your deal?"
Mhm.
And now she says, to be clear, I do love affection and non-sexual touch, spending time together, emotional connection, and yes, sexual touch as well. But safety and trust is still being rebuilt. But even if that were solid in the rebuilding it, I still feel a sense of bombardment with this type of frequency of this sexualization.
Mhm.
Now, here's some things and if you had been in our Dare to Connect program over the last handful of weeks, we have talked about defensive, manipulative, toxic communication tactics, and we've been exploring them thoroughly in our program. And this is one of the examples we've been reviewing in D2C. Here's what he says to her. He's made comments that other women don't mind this sort of stuff at all. That a lot of women like it and find it flattering. That's what we would refer to as turning statements into fact in order to be right or to get your way agreed with. Right? That's a toxic use of statements, and he's been doing this. Well, lots of other women love this, and in other words, they'd feel privileged if somebody like me came on to them like this. This is the thing that he's been using. He said he just likes a lot of sex, and that there's nothing wrong with having a high sex drive. He claims to never have had a porn addiction or porn issue. And so he doesn't have a pornified style of relating to women. He says he's not a sex addict because he only started acting out in an affair after 10 years of marriage. And he said he had been faithful. He believes that if it was an addiction, it would have been going on the whole marriage. He says his sex is healthy because of different ways that he comes at it. He's all about connection. He loves the cuddling, all this sort of stuff. He said he shouldn't have to apologize for being attracted to me and wanting to have sex with me. Now,
Boy, there's some manipulation in there. We'll get to it.
Right, we'll get to all this. Now, here's the part that just all of that, of course, is crazy, breaks your heart.
Yes.
She's had to put up with this. But then here's what really breaks your heart. Maybe I'm the one who's not normal, she says. Maybe I'm the one who needs fixing. Maybe this is normal behavior for guys who have high sex drives. So here's my question. How can one tell the difference between healthy, normal touching versus an over-sexualized approach to touch? How can one tell the difference between a, quote, high sex drive and being hypersexual? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I'm going to say wow. Just wow times infinity. Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here, and not just this partner, but this I mean, and this would probably be a good way to start any of our podcasts, but our hearts don't just go out to this partner, which you hear us say often, but frankly, any partner who finds themselves in this position. There is a lot of toxicity going on here, and we have a lot to say today. So we hope that you'll kind of bear with us as we go through this, because we know that this person is not alone.
No,
a dynamic.
No, they're absolutely not. And I guess I'll just say it up front before I forget about it. The fact that he would come back with justification or rationalization that says most women like this sort of thing, right, and would really enjoy it. Is he fully and completely unaware that there's an entire global social movement that was created because of these behaviors,
Yeah.
right? Called the Me Too movement? Does he know about this? And that millions and millions of women have come forward and says it's not okay?
Well, and it's interesting that you say that, Mark, because one thing that and we're going to get into all this. These are just some initial thoughts because I think Mark and I are like chomping at the bit to like get something out there.
Yeah, we are.
But this, it's interesting that it specifically mentioned in the submission that he doesn't have pornified thinking.
Oh, man.
Now, there are a lot of different definitions for pornified thinking. And they're kind of relative. But the way that we typically talk about it here, the way we talk about it in our Dare to Connect program for addict spouses and couples, would very much, yes, is the name kind of coined in the behavior to a point, right? There is a proclivity, but with sex and a proclivity towards porn itself. But a pornified mindset is not a reference simply to porn.
No, it's not.
It's a reference to the norms, behaviors, standards, cultural quote unquote norms or defaults that porn teaches that is problematic. And we've talked about this on this podcast before. I make no bones about the fact that I think when we look at the context of acting out, like the whole spectrum of various forms of acting out, whether it's an addiction or other forms of sexual compulsion, I think I could make a pretty solid case to most people that porn, from the individual participant's perspective, is more destructive than many of the others.
Yeah.
Because there is a distinct rewiring of the brain that occurs on this cultural, what is normal, what is not, what is healthy versus not, that is twisted and warped in ways that are hard to describe quickly in one setting, that have implications across the spectrum with that person in terms of their capacity to relate to people or the opposite sex in general, both sexually and not.
Well, because if you ask me to define a pornified mindset or approach, to me, it's quite direct. It's any time that we take a human being in their wholeness and we objectify them into pieces and parts.
Sure.
And we treat them as a thing, not as a holistic person. That's pornifying someone.
Well, and to me, it's exactly what Mark said, but there's an additional add-on. It's doing all of that, but then doing it under the moniker, and often in many cases of, again, this is normal or healthy.
This is normal. This
is like the status quo. All women are like this.
Yeah, this is what all guys do or want. I mean, listen to the words. Now we want to really just really showcase the courage of this partner to write in and dare to express all of this in such a raw, real way to us. Like way to go, way to get authentic and transparent. We need to name what's going on here, right? We just need to come right out and just name it. What is she experiencing? So when we talk about things like gawking, scanning, like someone said, well, there's no such thing as scanning my own wife or my own partner. Well, I completely 100% disagree, right? Here comes this concept of entitlement. Well, it's my partner or my spouse or whatever. I'm entitled to scan, to gawk, to do whatever I want. We need to challenge that right out of the gate here. But this gawking, constant grabbing, objectifying, touches that objectify, requests for her to expose her body parts, right? She feels like she's being scanned and examined on a continual basis. All this stuff. Right? This is what's going on. And we're calling it out. Right? Nobody deserves to be treated this way. Nobody signed up for this. When he says, well, most women or all women would just love, that's not true.
No.
Who signs up for this, for being turned into a collection of body parts that you can now do with as you please, whenever you please, however you please? I signed up for that when we entered into this committed relationship.
Yeah, the feelings in the room for Mark and I are really strong with this, because this culture comes from a lot of places. It can be pornified culture. Unfortunately, it comes from even some religiously conservative circles, or old ideas about patriarchy versus not, and things like that.
Exactly.
We ascribe to a rock solid precept here at PBSC and Dare to Connect. Nobody has the right to anyone else's body. Period. Point blank. End of discussion. It doesn't matter if you've been married. It doesn't matter if you got 50 documents saying you're stuck with each other for all time, for all eternity. It doesn't matter.
No.
Those are not blanket statements or blanket permissions that say, hey, we're in some sort of committed relationship, so access is somehow automatic and granted.
That's
bullshit.
right.
It's
Yeah.
straight up bullshit.
It is straight up.
And so we don't and I would challenge anybody from any culture, from any dynamic that would speak to that otherwise. We at the core of human existence should be the right for me to be able to be me. And in the being of that me, not interfering with the capacity of another person to be them.
Well, and she said something, and I'm going to be really raw and vulnerable personally about this, but also with the couples that I've worked with for more than 20 years. She talks about this lack of mindfulness on his part and she tenses up when he's coming at her in this way. But instead of coming back with compassion and empathy and leaning in, he asks her, "What's your deal?"
Yeah.
Right? Now, let me tell you about this in my relationship. When I was in heavy addiction, when my wife started to find her voice and to speak her truth, and I began to at least do my own shame and accountability work and, owning my dysfunctional crap and stuff, and I was able to start to hear her, here's what she said to me. She said, "I got to the place where I felt that when you would look at me, you wouldn't see me. You would just see my boobs or my butt or my body."
Yeah.
She said, "I literally felt like you would just stare right through me, and that I was being dismissed, and that I was just being looked at as an object." And she said, "I could feel it from you."
Mm.
She said, "I found it horribly disconnecting. She said, quite frankly, I found it insulting. I found it disrespectful. I found it dismissive." And I was shocked when she started to express these things. And I really had to take a step back and decide within myself, was I going to be open to these things, or was I going to dismiss them and rationalize and justify and say some of the things this guy is saying and just go right back into the sexually entitled culture and world? Or was I going to hear her?
Yes.
And really start to hear where she was coming from? That was a big transition point in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Hey everybody, PBSC podcast hosts Mark and Steve here with a special message about our revolutionary online recovery program for addict spouses and couples called Dare to Connect. Multiple times every week, we get messages from subscribers in the program. They're people just like you. They're trying to heal from the devastation of sex and porn addiction and betrayal trauma. And here's a few of our most recent submissions. Here's one from an addict in recovery. It says, D2C has principles that everyone should utilize regardless of their circumstances. It doesn't matter your coping mechanisms. It matters that you want to work towards genuine connection with your partner.
That's awesome. Another testimony from an addict continues on. My wife is just starting out in training as a licensed therapist. Dare to Connect has been far more useful to her than her degree.
Wow.
The way Mark and Steve apply what they've learned is always so redemptive. D2C has opened doors for my relationship that I thought would be shut forever. Mark and Steve are an incredible resource of information on the subject of sex addiction and betrayal trauma. We could not do this journey without their help.
Here's one from a partner who's been with us for nearly a year. I want you both to know that it is because of you guys and D2C that I'm able to be in the place that I am today. I will always be grateful to you both for your feedback and prompt replies to my questions. I can't even come close to putting it into words how valuable my time spent with y'all this past year has been to my life. Thank you for everything you taught me about betrayal trauma and boundaries and thinking errors and loving myself and making myself a priority and standing up for myself.
Love that submission. And then as we close out here today, guys, one more account from another addict in recovery. I wish I had a platform like this 14 years ago where I could have learned and done the hard work of recovery before I had done all this damage to myself and to my spouse. And to be candid with all of you, that's exactly why we created Dare to Connect. Mark and I found ourselves in that place. Messages like these and the others like them, they're what Dare to Connect really is all about, guys. and why Mark and I do what we do. Whether you're an addict or a partner of an addict, and no matter where you find yourself in the recovery process, Dare to Connect can take you to the next level. Don't wait another day to catapult your recovery forward. Today is your day for change. Visit us at daretoconnectnow.com to pick up your free 2-week trial of Dare to Connect today.
And as you know, Steve, you and I hear this endlessly from betrayed, dismissed, injured, objectified partners. We hear it endlessly.
Yeah. And this sexual entitlement piece is oftentimes referred to as male sexual entitlement. If you look at some of the experts out there right now, they kind of use that terminology. Mark and I disagree with that, even though it is true, and I think it's a pretty well-recognized fact across the board that this kind of entitlement is exhibited more by the male sex. It is by no means exclusive to that. And
Yes,
and it's important that everybody keep in mind that this can happen in any relationship, and that if relationships are to remain safe, if they're to remain egalitarian, if we're both able to, in order for us to both be consenting in a relationship, whether it's emotionally, physically, spiritually, sexually, then we both have to be consenting. Right?
Yeah, and we just need to address sexual entitlement as a phrase in and of itself, not exclusively to one gender or another.
Correct.
As we said, we know that it has been and continues to be very prevalent among men, but not exclusive to them.
Yeah, for
right.
sure.
And the problem with this whole thing is this partner, the gaslighting dynamic is atrocious here.
Yes.
What is the gaslighting dynamic? That's where you take something and you turn it on your partner as if it's their fault, their problem, they're making.
Yeah.
And the heartbreaking thing she says is, I'm starting to wonder if I'm the problem.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm the one that's not normal and he is normal. You see, right? You see that doubt from that gaslighting as it's being applied to her.
Mm-hmm.
That's just tragic. Because what's happening, she's losing herself. She's losing her authentic self. She's starting to doubt herself. She's starting to look at possibly giving herself over to behaviors that are absolutely unacceptable and invasive and abusive.
Yeah.
Maybe it's me. Like, wow. It's just crazy as you look at those expressions.
Well, when you connect it, with, for example, Dr. Omar Minwalla's work, right, who is a preeminent up and coming guy in the world of sex addiction, betrayal, trauma, and other elements of psychology, he would definitely categorize. I mean, this is not simply affection, nor is this just simply some sort of high drive.
No way.
Right? This is very reflective of definite, observable sexual entitlement behaviors that do a couple of really nefarious things. First of all, they dismiss feelings. Right, an intention on the part of the other person.
Yes.
2, as we just talked about, and we can't emphasize this enough, they override consent.
Yeah, can I put that one in a big giant neon sign, 50-foot high letters? Overrides consent.
Anytime an overriding, and we'll talk about this more in a minute because we have some strong thoughts later in the podcast, but just for anyone who's needing it, in case we're not all on the same page, I don't pretend to define love for anybody. But if what you're doing with another person overrides their consent, whatever the hell that is, it is not loving.
That's not love.
It's not loving. No. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. If you find yourself in a place where you're kind of not clear on where we're going with this, sexual entitlement, it is probably important to define this, even though we're kind of talking about it. Let's just get nitty and gritty with the terminology so that we all are on the same page. So the following components apply to a definition of sexual entitlement. 1, the belief that one is owed sexual access, attention, or validation, regardless of the reasoning. 2, minimizes or dismisses the partner's autonomy, comfort, or boundaries. And 3, justifies said behaviors as, quote, normal or just attraction.
Yeah, normal sexual needs. This is just attraction, right? I'm doing this because I'm so attracted to you.
Yeah.
Yep. This whole concept of entitlement. It does what? Ignores the partner's feelings, overrides their consent, and turns them into a collection of pieces and parts, as opposed to a holistic, diverse human being.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can hear the examples in this story of this. Again, we always want to be loving, and we don't know the whole story here, but from what we've been shared, we're big on being loving with our audience, with all of you. And love means telling people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. So under that banner, here we go. I mean, you hear the examples, right? From the story. These are actual quotes from the submission that we got. Other women like it. I just have a high sex drive. You should feel flattered. I shouldn't have to apologize for being attracted to you. And man, that last one, I have so many problems because you not once in this submission does this partner in any way say that she has a problem with him being attracted to her at all.
She doesn't say it a single time.
There's nothing. She has a problem with his complete and utter lack of self-control around said attraction. That's the problem.
Yes.
And the fact that it's overriding this drive that apparently isn't in the driver's seat. Sorry, I'm going to be a little sarcastic now, which I this drive that apparently isn't overriding, but yet is to the point where she says no and he says yes.
Right. Yep. She says no and he says yes. Right. Because I mean, let's clarify. This is not about attraction or healthy desire.
No, it's not.
Let's get blunt. It's about using power and entitlement to coerce and to pressure.
Which will never elicit many things in a relationship, but number one, which is the key ingredient to any relationship of an intimate nature working at all, safety.
Well, yeah, because if we're going to talk about the opposite of what she's describing, if we're going to talk about healthy touch, right? If we're going to distinguish between healthy desire and hyper-sexualization, what is the first rule of healthy touch? What is it, Steve?
It's always have consent.
It's always safety. Safety first.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
First, right?
Absolutely.
That is the number one qualifier that has to be at the tippy top. Safety, consent first.
Always.
Now we can talk.
If you don't have safety, you don't have a relationship.
No,
It's just that simple.
You don't.
You don't.
Right.
We work with partners all the time who tragically will talk about, he's such a nice guy. He does this, he does that, but I am not in any way safe with him. That's a hard conversation to have with partners, but we do that kind of stuff in Dare to Connect. That's not a relationship.
No, it's not.
At least not one of any substance.
No, because what are we hearing here? I'm not hearing respect on his part. I'm not hearing mindfulness on his part. He's not checking in with her before he begins to engage in these things. Let's say that some aspect of it could be truly healthy attraction. Well, how is he coming at that? How is he approaching that? Right? What kind of work is he doing on his side of the street? Steve, you and I talk all the time about the 8 areas of healthy intimacy.
Yeah,
8.
where the hell are the other 7?
Only one of those is sexual. Where's the other 7? I didn't hear any description on her part of the other 7 coming from him at all. It's just one. And it's not even the 8th category that is healthy sexuality.
No.
Right.
No. And so there's a lot here, right?
And the other than really, and she mentioned this, is there a balance in everything that she's describing in his behavior? Is there a balance with non-sexual affection?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear one word that any of that is going on, right? Affection, in other words, touching, affection, closeness that does not have an agenda to lead to sex.
Now, to speak to this guy, not that I know him at all, but we do know the guys that we work with pretty well. If it was old defensive Steve here, the first thing that I would say in response to this, well, of course I like other things. In fact, in his submission, he says, well, I like to cuddle. I like to hug. I like to just snuggle. But guys, can we be honest? If non-sexual touch always carries with it the expectation that it's going to escalate to sexual touch, that's not non-sexual touch.
No, it's not.
Okay, if it's just a precursor to sex, then that's not really authentic sexual touch. It's just a Trojan horse to try to open the door to sexual touch.
Yep. And what does she talk about? Pressure. Does she always feel the pressure? That's what my wife complained about. She's like, whenever you would approach me, even what seemed to be non-sexual touch or just genuine affection, she said, even if it wasn't your intention, based on the history, I always felt pressured. I always felt you had an agenda behind that. Oh, I know where this is going with him. And she said, I came to the part where I didn't trust any sort of touch or advance on your part. Even when I started to get sincere with it, there was still trepidation and suspicion on her part.
Well, again, how do we know that this is toxic and toxically over-sexualized? Well, it's frequent, intrusive, and it disregards our consent, right?
Yes,
It's more
yes.
about taking, if not exclusively about taking, and very little, if anything, about giving or sharing,
Yep.
right? And it leaves her every time, according to her, again, we're just going off of what we hear, feeling like an object for gratification or being examined in some sort of judgmental way, right? And being literally
Yeah.
poked and prodded and
Yeah.
like critiqued.
Yeah. Sizing her up, measuring her up. How does she compare? And again, if there's some sincere attraction or sincere affection or just playful flirting on his side, a great deal of this has to do with where is she coming from? How is she feeling? How is she interpreting all this? And has he even approached her to talk about it? How do you feel when I do X, Y, or Z? What message is this giving you when I come at you this way? Have those conversations taken place? Doesn't sound like it.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, and so for sake of time, because I'm watching our time closely here, if we're looking at, and by the way, guys, we know that a half hour ish is really short for topics like this. If you like what you're hearing today, even though it's a difficult show, if you're liking the approach, get your butts into freaking Dare to Connect. Okay, daretoconnectnow.com. We've got a 2-week free trial there. We'd love to have you come and access everything from the live sessions to the interactive content to the advanced courses to everything in between, with an ever-growing list of resources and other things at your disposal. daretoconnectnow.com. Come grab your free trial for that.
Yeah.
But if we're looking at this, if we're looking at this through the lens of, kind of shifting towards the, where do we go from here, right? And in doing that, I think what we ought to be doing is I guess we need to define. Let's answer her question real quick, because one of the things she asked was, is this just a high sex drive or hypersexualization, right, or is it something else? A high drive can be healthy, okay?
Oh yeah.
It can, but if it's paired with what? Self-regulation, respect, and mindfulness, and being and a mindfulness of self, as well as being attuned to the needs and wants of the partner.
Yeah.
Right? Hypersexualization, by contrast, is compulsive, okay? Boundary crossing and often invalidating. And when you're talking about the context of addiction, and this is just being as point blank as we can, it may look on the outside like, wow, he's just really into her. No. When we're in this mindset, we're not into the other person, quite the opposite. It's actually emotionally distancing and escapist. And it's not connecting.
Not connected.
It's an exclusive. It's like looking at the other person through like the eye of a needle, and seeing their body parts.
Yeah.
And excluding everything else. That's not connecting.
It's not I'm into her. I'm into me and using her.
Correct. That's a great way to put it. This is not about you and me. This is about me utilizing you.
Exactly. That's what it is.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, so the partner's experience and the confusion you hear, right? We validate all of that, right? This all makes her feel unsafe, bombarded, and then she questions if she's the broken one.
Oh man,
right?
Yeah. Gotta exercise some self-restraint here.
and what does a partner, what does a betrayed, injured, this abuse that she's experiencing, what does this then put us in? We could call it the double bind. She loves affection, she loves connection, and even she says sexual touch, but not when it's aggressive, disconnected, right? Non-consenting, non-safe. So now she finds herself stuck in this place.
Yeah.
I want these healthy things, but I don't want these things. So now where do I go?
Well, and these responses, right? That she's feeling this desire to pull away, she's tensing up, right? And this is really important. Those are not symbols, and we're just speaking straight to you, partner. That's amazing. These are not symbols of being broken or being weird or being off. It's data that should be telling you something.
Yeah, it's exactly.
This is not okay.
Right.
Right. I don't care if he's your boyfriend, your husband, your prophet, your Maharaj, your whatever. Nobody has the right to simply just say sex now. I don't care what you want. Right? It's just that simple.
Yeah, if you're
Right?
tensing up and finding a part of you is wanting to pull away to protect, that's your nervous system sounding the four fire alarm,
Absolutely.
right?
If it's not okay for you, it's not okay for you, and that's just how it is.
Exactly.
And so and so we want to just be clear here because sometimes we hear this from guys that we work with on occasion. We
Mhm.
have nothing. We are not anti-sex here on this podcast. I told a guy just the other day because he actually brought it up in a therapy session a while back. Steve, I'm just scared at some point you're going to tell me like I shouldn't be having sex anymore. And I actually laughed. I shouldn't have, but I laughed. Because it's not about. I told him point blank. I know him really well. I said I want you having loads of sex. It just needs to be connected.
Just needs to be
It
connected.
needs to be connected. It needs to be authentic. I have sex 7 times a day. If your partner's on board and you're doing it for the right reasons and it's healthy and connected, mazel tov.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it
Great.
pro consent? Is it pro mindfulness? Is it pro safety?
And are you connecting in all the other ways as a base? Knock yourselves out.
Right.
Great.
When you're outside the bedroom, you're the other 7 areas of intimacy are active. You're pursuing them. It's an awesome friendship of overall connection in all these ways. And when we come together for the sexual part, because of all that we're doing, sex is amazing.
Yep.
It's fantastic. It's the culmination celebrating event of all the rest of what we're doing.
Adopt the rabbit reproduction mantra if you want to. Go for it. 100% on board with that.
Yeah.
But that's the problem is none of that is lining up here.
No.
So where do we go, right? So let's as we wrap up, guys. Here, we got a couple of thoughts just to kind of close with. For a betrayed partner, and this is for anyone, okay, any betrayed partner. When it comes to bringing sex or sexual contact back on board following betrayal, following difficulty, following whatever, number one, check your we're calling them your sexual or not your sexual, but your safety zones, emotionally, physically, sexually, authentically. How does this square up? Do you feel right in all those areas? And if you don't, why?
Yeah.
Because there should be green lights across the board if this is going to be authentic. And that includes, by the way, even if you're in a place, maybe it has nothing to do with him not doing something. Maybe he's being completely respectful. I've had this happen in my marriage during recovery. I'm being very respectful. I'm in a good place. Brittany is recognizing the same things and feels that way. But for whatever reason, she feels triggered to the point where right now it's just not authentic. And that is okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
Another big one is, and this goes on traumatized partners. They'll find their intuition, their gut, their inner voice will start to really get confused. We invite this partner and all partners, trust your body's cues. Your discomfort is valid. Listen to it, pay attention to it, right? It's an inner voice trying to tell you some really important things.
Yeah.
You're not broken. You're not abnormal. This is your inner authentic system trying to tell you some really important stuff.
Yeah. Well, and obviously boundaries are a huge piece of that, right? They need to be clearly defined. What kind of touch feels safe, right, versus not. Those discussions need to be happening. It sounds like they are in this relationship as much as he will allow, but that needs to be made clear, at least internally, if not for both. And then for the husband and partner, there's lots to say, and I will just we're going to preface what we say by you will be hard pressed to find two men who are more empathetic to the plight you find yourselves in. We have been here, there, and everywhere across the sexual journey when it comes to healthy versus toxic sexuality. Okay.
Yep.
And what we can tell you first and foremost is you've got to get back in there and you've got to do some recovery work. Okay. In the submission that was given, and something was said very telling. He did a lot of recovery work. She didn't really specify what it was, but then he quit a couple of years ago. And we appreciate her putting that in there. But honestly, reading this story, you could all but assume that, given the pattern that's happening.
Well, it was even when he came back to her, or they came back together to talk about reconciliation a year ago. That's when he quit recovery, just at the very time when he should have increased his recovery.
Yep.
Increased the intensity. And one thing that was really disturbing for me to hear, yeah, I know I had childhood traumas, but that's all been taken care of.
Yeah.
Like, that's all resolved. Whoa. I'm still resolving my childhood trauma issues, and I've been at this for 20 years of personal work.
And I would agree with that same statement. We don't have time to get into that, but that is the journey of a lifetime, and quote
Yeah.
unquote working through it is a very nebulous expression. Again, something we talk about a lot in Dare to Connect if you're interested in learning more about it.
Yeah.
But this whole element of whatever this may be stemming from, whether it's trauma or whatever, that doesn't mitigate accountability. It doesn't mitigate the need for ongoing progressive change and you making progressive victories, quote unquote, over lust, to quote the white book from Sexaholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
Because whatever else is happening here, that isn't.
Yeah.
That's just as blunt as we can say it.
He's lacking the skills to begin to separate true human affection and connection from just plain sexualization.
For sure. For sure.
He's not able to engage in the difference.
Yeah, and he says specifically he's not an addict, right? Is he that? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Is he a sexual compulsive? Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And there is and guys, there's a litmus test that would be really easy. If any guy is listening to this and they're still vulnerably listening at this point, if your sexual actions, whatever they are, okay, regardless of frequency or whatever, if they're pushing, pressuring, or overriding a partner's emotional, sexual, or physical safety, guys, that is hyper-sexualization. It's unhealthy. It's entitled. It's not loving. And it might be illegal, depending on where you live.
Mm-hmm.
So not only are you causing all sorts of issues for your relationship, as if that weren't enough, the line between sexual invitation and sexual abuse is thin. So be careful.
Yes.
We live in a day and an age, especially, not that we should have to have this pointed out, but I guess fortunately, culture has really pushed the idea that consent should be crystal clear between two people. And no means no means no. Right? That's just how it is. Yeah. No matter how much, if again, we hear it from guys all the time. Well, I just love them so much. No, you don't. Not if it's pushing you to the point of doing this.
Yeah.
It's not that's something, but it ain't love. Loving another person means incorporating their needs and wants into your own.
Exactly. And if he can get back into solid, really serious, active recovery, then we hope that this couple could get to the place where they could start to talk about what builds safety versus what feels objectifying.
And they very likely could. I have all the hope in the world for a relationship like this, right? But it doesn't sound like everything is broken, but there are some core things here that have to change and are not sustainable.
Yeah, they could start getting to the place of truly non-sexual touch time, checking in before things become in any way sexual, what it means to be mindful and, hit the pause button, step back and not just be compulsive or reactive.
Well, in this particular case, based on what we hear here, the boundary for this couple in particular should be pretty clear. Give her the sexual reins. She'll let you know.
Yeah.
She'll let you know.
Yeah.
I would say that a guy in this position, if you find yourself in a similar place, best thing you can do is back the hell off, give your partner space, apologize and make amends where necessary, and allow her to lead the charge on where things go sexually.
Yeah.
You'd be much better served that way.
Yeah, we have a lot of couples where it even comes to the place where he honors her and she says, I don't feel comfortable even undressing in front of you.
For sure.
I need my own space to do those things. I need my own bathroom. I need whatever it takes to create absolute safety and begin to rebuild. Yeah. You engage in it. And guys, you lead out.
So we end where we begin. Safety, right?
Yeah.
Safety, consent, transparency, connection. We have a lot of love for all of you. Thanks for indulging us. You suckers, without even being on the program, you did what our D2C people do. You got us going too long. We broke our own half-hour boundary for the podcast, so it is what it is. Thank you for sending us passionate topics. We love all of you. We appreciate all of you. Once again, if you like this program, if you liked what you felt, even though it may have been uncomfortable if you're an addict, if what you may have heard may have pissed you off in some ways, but deep down it maybe resonates with you, even if part of you is as a guy who's struggling with some of these things, maybe it is triggering, but deep down you're like, gosh, maybe are they right? Get your ass into our program. Come join us in Dare to Connect. We'd love to have you come and see what the excitement's about and see if it is right for you guys. 2-week free trial, daretoconnectnow.com. We'd love to have you. And as always, if you would like to send us submissions for the podcast, we are a bit behind as of this recording. we're probably about 6-ish weeks lag in terms of podcasts submitted to us, but we will definitely get to those. We always make those our priority episodes. So we'd love to hear from you. You can send those in to us at the same website, daretoconnectnow.com. Click on the banner at the top. Bottom of that page is a contact form. Send them in to us.
Yeah. Thanks for being here with us. And we will pick things up next in episode 301.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
All right. See ya.
Everything expressed on the PBSC podcast are the opinions of the hosts and the participants and is for informational and educational purposes only. This podcast should not be considered mental health therapy or as a substitute thereof. It is strongly recommended that you seek out the clinical guidance of an individual qualified mental health professional. If you're experiencing thoughts of suicide, self-harm, or a desire to harm others, please dial 911 or go to your nearest emergency room.